Well, as the trial of former Ivorian President Laurent Gbagbo continues in The Hague, in the Ivory Coast itself, many still recovering from the post-election violence of 2010 and 2011. Among those worst affected are, of course, hundreds of children who were separated from their families. More than 1,000 unaccompanied children ended up in refugee camps. But now, almost 5 years later, the majority are going home. Our correspondents Sylvestre-Treiner and Arnaud follows 10-year-old Silvester and his sister, 8-year-old Macado, on their journey to meet their family.
Bay-Uba in northern Liberia. It's a small village just a few kilometres from the border with Ivory Coast. This is where Silvester and his sister Macado sought refuge in January 2011, running away from Ivory Coast post-election violence. Now, 5 years later, they are getting ready to go home.
Oh, Sylvester, how are you? You all right? Macado, you all right? It's the beginning of new life as they have been separated from their mother for years. Although something has changed a little bit, but they are all aware of, it takes time. We prepare them so that they can get adapted, with life on the other side.
When the Ivorian crisis was at its worst, the children's mother entrusted them to a friend. They were moved. Their mother lost track of them. Alone and far from home, the children were taken in at this village. Now, the International Committee of the Red Cross has found their family and is taking them back to their hometown.
The children will not forget about them. They will not forget about them. Even when you all leave, you see how they came, start waving to them, telling them goodbye and all those things. Though you people can't understand our dialect, but the children, some people are so sad because of their friends leaving them today.
From Bay-Uba, the convoy heads southeast towards Floleur in Ivory Coast, where their mother awaits them. During the post-election violence, Ivory Coast's western border was particularly deadly. In 2011, around 200,000 people fled to Liberia. Even today, there are still random armed attacks. Many families are still separated. On the road, a man stops the convoy.
The family stopped us to ask for information about their daughter. They haven't heard from her since she returned to Ivory Coast a long time ago.
The Red Cross still has a lot of work to do to reunite children with their families. Posters cover walls in public areas. Every unaccompanied child has been photographed, like Silvester and Macado. These vulnerable children have witnessed violence. Others have been forced to work, some even abused. So it's new clothes and new haircuts. It's a much-needed transition for these uprooted children.
The transition has emotional implications that we take into consideration, and something as simple as getting ready, making yourself beautiful, helps to boost the well-being of the child.
It's time for Silvester and Macado to cross the border. Ivory Coast is just a few metres away on the other side of this bridge. The past year and a half, authorities shut the crossing because of the Ebola epidemic. With the outbreak for now over, they've opened it again, just to let refugees go home. A little further to go, the final few metres. The children are finally home. They are reunited with their mother. Neither can remember her.
I'm happy, so truly happy to see the children.
During all this time without my grandchildren, I was so miserable. I looked for them for years. Today I'm so happy I could dance, and I will keep on dancing.
During the 2010-2011 post-election crisis, 1,200 unaccompanied Ivorian children became refugees. The majority have found their families. But even now, there are more than 35,000 refugees across the border in Liberia.